Okay, mic's on. What's up, everybody? This is Blazing What Ifs, blazing into another video. This is What If Deku Was a Cyborg Part 8, and I gotta be quiet because the rest of my family's here, and I don't need to get caught. Because my mom doesn't like me doing YouTube videos, but I do it anyway. Shh. Don't tell her. Not that you know her, but anyway. Moving on. She said something about revealing, personal stuff, which I haven't done, so I think I'm in the clear, but just in case. So let's get into it. So, this is going to be the part with a bunch of, the emotional stuff, not like fight scenes or anything. This is going to be stuff that I came up with. At least as far as I'm concerned, I came up with it. And we're really close. Like, I checked a few minutes ago, we're at like 94 subscribers. And I've already recorded part 1, so as soon as we get to of What If Deku had the boosted gear. So as soon as, we reach 100 subscribers, that's immediately getting uploaded. So if you get to 100 subscribers, the day this is uploaded, then I upload, What If Deku had a boosted gear immediately. As soon as I find out, boom, it's going up. And it's about an hour long, and most of it is just me explaining the history of this specific version of the My Hero Academia and High School DxD crossover universe. Is basically what it is. So you have that to look forward to. I'm not going to explain anything else about it. But yeah. Moving on. So, where we left off, Izuku was just rushed to one of his father's hospitals after collapsing from his battle with Overhaul. Not even from the damage done by Overhaul, but because of the mental, strain that basically remembering 2 different lives that you've lived put onto him. And I can only imagine how much strain that would put on you, it's like, I've done this, but at the same time I haven't done this, kind of a thing, because it's like, it's your life, but at the same time it's not your life, because you didn't live that life, but you did at the same time. So needless to say, he's gonna go through some strange times. So yeah. I'm just gonna use this picture because I like it, it's nice, it's adorable. But we're not gonna get into that immediately. Not just yet. So, Izuku wakes up after 2 days. He's in a coma that lasted for 2 days. And that's not that long for a coma. Especially when there's people out there who've been in it for who can be in a coma for months or even years. So 2 days isn't that long, but he's in a coma-like state for 2 days before he wakes up. He wakes up, his father talks to him, asking if he's okay and everything. And he's like, yeah, he's fine. He just had some weird flashes, he was simultaneously living 2 lives, deja vu, but so much more realistic and so much worse. And yeah, and as he's talking to his dad, he's getting more flashes. Now this is the point where I tell you to make sure you're wearing headphones, because I don't want you getting in trouble with your parents for what I'm about to say, which maybe you won't, maybe you will, maybe you're like 8 years old, and you'll definitely get in trouble for me mentioning adult actions, for me just mentioning adult actions, not even describing them, just mentioning them. So this is where I tell you to make sure you're wearing headphones, and if you aren't wearing if you haven't paused the video and started wearing headphones yet, I don't know what you're doing, then obviously you don't give a shit, which kudos to you. Yeah, so he's getting flashes of his previous life, flashes where, you know, he's on dates with Uraraka, they're having fun. He gets a flash of when they got married. When they got married, he gets a flash of events in their honeymoon, and for him, this is taking about 5 minutes. In real life, this is taking about 5 minutes, but he feels like he's doing this for like an hour. So he's just stalled there for about 5 minutes while he's like reliving an hour's worth of memories. And so he's like getting flashes from their honeymoon, flashes of them having sex, you know, getting her pregnant, having kids, and now he's going through this crisis, like, did that happen? Is that the future laid out to me? Is the future being laid out to me? Like, he's smart, but, like, if you went through this, you'd be having some doubts. Like, you don't know what this is. He doesn't know anything about his quirk causing him... He hasn't gotten any memories back of his quirk, you know, working. If you haven't seen the first video I posted, the DEKUVERSE prologue, video that I posted, it's the very first video on my channel. If you haven't seen it, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'm gonna explain it a little bit. It says that Deku did have a quirk, but the doctor didn't bother explaining it to him because it's like it only activated upon his death. And once he finally died, and then everything went to canon, so he just labeled him quirkless, and then continued, and then, everything went to canon. And then, everything went to canon in there, he dated Uraraka, because I'm pretty sure that's the canon ship. And for those of you who don't know, that's why I don't ship, I won't do fan fiction or what if, where Deku x Uraraka or Deku x Ochako is a thing. It's because I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the canon ship, and then that doesn't make the fan fiction fun for me. The fan fiction or the what if fun for me, if you're just using what is more than likely going to be the canon ship. It's why I like Deku and Kyoka, because it's like 100% not gonna happen in canon. If it did, I'd be extremely happy, but I'd probably stop doing what ifs and fan fictions where they're the main coupling, because it's canon now, and then it doesn't make it fun. But yeah, that's the whole thing behind that. There's another reason, but I'll explain that in the later video, which is the main reason I like Izuku x Kyoka, but we'll get to that later in another video. I have a series planned out where I will explain that. But, for now, we're getting into this, so, yeah. So he's getting these flashes of basically his canon life, but it's more or less, actually it's only events he had with Uraraka and being in love with Uraraka, So he doesn't get the memories back of his death and how his quirk works. how his quirk works is, every time he dies, he's forced to reincarnate, and even though he reincarnates into that world without a quirk at all, or maybe an entirely different quirk, in another life, or some other abnormal power or abilities that I decide to give him in the what ifs, that aren't quirks, the abilities of quirks and powers he has in his previous lives still affect him to a degree. So, he's not gonna, have them throughout his entire life, so he's not gonna have, all these different abilities at the same time. No. They'll activate at certain times when the powers that he has in this world just aren't enough. That, or whenever I just feel like adding a little spice to a battle. So, that's why it's there. I came up with this little thing of giving him his abilities from his previous lives after I made the DEKUVERSE prologue video. So that's not actually explained in there. But, it's a thing. But it's a thing now. It's canon. I've made it canon for my entire channel because it's all based off of, the original idea of him reincarnating into different universes over and over again. And after each death, causing the creation of the DEKUVERSE. That's basically my channel in a nutshell. Eventually, when I get tired of the DEKUVERSE thing, I'll spread out from the DEKUVERSE and do what if Natsu remembered his past kind of a thing, because I really like the idea of that, of Natsu remembering his past. I think that's interesting. I'll probably be doing a lot of Natsu x Urza, because I just like it. Don't judge. But that's probably far off in the future when I run out of what if Deku ideas. Or, the what if Deku ideas just get bland. And you know what I mean? But, for now we're gonna keep going with this. So, yeah, his dad's after the 5 minutes, he's shaking Izuku because, he's not responding, because Izuku's not responding to him. So, Izuku snaps out of it after the 5 minutes due to his dad, shaking him. He's like, I'm fine, brushes everything off and, walks out and goes to school. And he becomes distant from everyone, even Kyoka, for about a week. Kyoka goes and, slaps him, because he doesn't have his, helmet on anymore. He doesn't see the point, his face was on camera the entire time. News stories probably everywhere are about, oh my gosh, this kid that we thought was dead, this kid who revealed himself to be Izuku Midoriya is actually a hero in training. And people are spinning it Hisashi Midoriya, the greatest, inventor, or created a robot version of his son. And, because he was so grief-stricken. That news channel was taken down so fast. So fucking fast. It was taken down so fast. No one in that news station saw the light of day again. God damn. You wanna piss off the man who creates the technology you use at your news station? Excuse me? That just doesn't sound like a good idea to me. But anyway, moving on. He becomes distant for about a week. And so Kyoka calls his dad because Kyoka has his father's number. And he comes over to talk to them and kind of try to explain what he's going through. Like, he felt like he was going through, like, living two different lives at the same time, and to just give him the space. When this weird blackish purple substance just starts tearing a hole in reality. No, it's not Kurogiri, because that's just straight up purple. This is black and purple. And he rips it. And you see these weird demonic claws just rip it open. And to the person who suggested I do What If Deku Had Meliodas' powers, here's your little sneak peek into that what if. And then a much older looking Izuku comes out, except he has all these strange black and purple demonic markings lining his body, and his arms are entirely purple, which lead to like demonic claws at the end. I don't know if you guys heard that. That was my brother. I don't know what he's on about, but hey. So Izuku, comes out, and then two girls come out behind him. One being Rumi, or otherwise known as Pro Hero Mirko, and Ryukyu, because I don't know her real name. And the Pro Hero Ryukyu, because I don't know her real name. Nor do I have time to look it up. But it's a multi-ship, so... But what if Deku had Meliodas' powers? This could be a multi-ship. Because it's not what if Deku had... what if Deku was Meliodas? It's what if Deku had Meliodas' powers. So yeah. That's a thing. So he beats the shit out of, No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, guys. No fighting in this episode. Unless it's verbal. So he explains, that... Because at this point he's figured out what is the quirk. Because I'll explain why in his explanation that I'm going to explain.
I don't need no coupon.
Yeah, they're shouting again.
I'm not doing no coupon, Mom.
They're still doing it. Okay. So he continues on with what he's doing. And he starts, explaining how, like, he found in his first life, like, how he's basically immortal, and how in his first life, he explains how he is their Izuku reincarnated into another, universe, into, another timeline, which then becomes so different that it creates its own parallel universe. Like, he's born again, but then everything is so different that it creates its own parallel universe. So instead of being a different timeline, it's its own separate universe. And he explains how that's what his quirk does. That quirk he was born with in his first life was called ReZero. And he's labeled it ReZero, and it will continuously affect him for all of eternity. So he will continuously, whenever he dies, he'll reincarnate. He will, be born again, and the world will be so different that it creates an entirely different parallel dimension. And how the one therein is the second, is the first dimension to ever be created. after the original. Because, like, the original happened, and then this is the universe that was, the alternate dimension, or parallel dimension that was created by his quirk that made everything so different. It was created from a timeline that was created by his quirk. And he said how sometimes he'd get flashes of memories from his other lives. And he said, if I remember in this life, if I was a cyborg, which means that right about now, I'm remembering the original life. So now, at this point in time, this version of me is extremely confused, saying that he believes that he's seeing the future or something, when really he's just seeing a version, another universe that he's lived through. A universe where he loved someone else. But now he loves someone different, but now he doesn't understand. Because, that's extremely difficult, right? Loving two people at the same time. But this version of Izuku, basically Meliodas Izuku, even though he's not really Meliodas, it's in any way, shape, or form other than having the same abilities. I should mention that Ryukyu and Mirko look the same age as him. They are aged down to, his age for, reasons. How, every thing is, messing with his mind. He doesn't know reality, this reality. He can't differentiate if this is reality or that other life is reality. If this is his life or that other one is his life. He doesn't understand. At this point in time, when he, lives a few other lives and then gets to my point, he'll understand completely about a week before he dies in this world. Because we don't retain any of the official memories until about a week before we die. This shocks Ryukyu and Mirko, and they both... And, they all know what this means, that if he can remember all of his past lives, that means he's gonna die in about a week. That means he's gonna die in about a week from now. And don't get me wrong, all three of them look like they're in their, 50s. Because Izuku would be in his 50s, but using his demon powers, he can make them look younger. They're about in their, late 50s is where they're really at, even though they look a lot younger due to Izuku's demon powers. So, Ryukyu and Mirko both bitch slap him for not saying anything. So yeah, basically how it works is, a week before they die in their dimension, all of the memories of all of their past lives just come back to them in full, at least the major ones. So they understand, and they start to understand that, oh, it was all these weird flashes I've been seeing are lives that I've lived before, and I'm going to live another one after this. And after so many times, like, what if Deku had Meliodas' powers? I think it's gonna be season 5? Yeah, it's gonna be season 5. So it's gonna be like the 5th one, the 5th what if I put on my channel. Well, but like after, in his 5th life, he's like just like come to terms with it, because that's just his attitude in his 5th life. Some of his other lives, he's gonna be like, oh shit, I'm gonna die in a week. He's like, oh shit, that means I'm gonna die in a week, fuck. And that so depending on the personality I give him in the what if, will determine how he reacts to like, oh shit, I have 1 week to live. But yeah, so after that, he calms his 2 wives down, because they do have wedding rings. And all 3 of them have 2 wedding rings. And Izuku technically has 3. Ryukyu and Mirko. Ryukyu has one that represents her and Izuku, and then the second one is the one that binds all 3 of them. And then Mirko has the one that for her and Izuku, and then the one that binds all 3 of them. And then Izuku has the one that ties him with Ryukyu, and then another one with him and Mirko, and then the third one being, the one that ties all 3 of them. That is not something I made up. That is from the Jack and Her Green Muse fanfiction. That can be found on fanfiction.net or Wattpad. I don't know if it can be found anywhere else, but Jack and Her Green Muse is what got me into Izujiro in the first place. That's the one. That's the one that's the fanfiction that I was just, looking up different ships, and I'm like, okay, Izujiro, yeah, that sounds interesting, like it's never gonna happen. And then this is the first fanfiction I came across for it, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I read it. I'm like, this is my OTP. the person who wrote this did it so smoothly. It made so much sense. And I loved it. It didn't feel like they were out of character when I was reading it. They probably were out of character. A bit. But damn. It worked so well. She corrupted Izuku so good. No, I'm kidding. She did do that. Izuku did become a cinnamon roll instead of a cinnamon roll. If you catch my drift, with an S instead of a C. If you catch my drift. So, which was fun to watch. Which was fun to read. Because the parts where he just flipped off Bakugo were amazing. It will forever be my favorite fanfiction. As far as the foreseeable future shows me, it will forever be my favorite fanfiction. No, it's so good. You all should read it, it's amazing. It's completed, which sucks, but it's amazing. Anyway, so, Kyoga then goes to Izuku. How long have I been recording at this point? Oh dang, I've really been recording that long already? Okay, let's move on. Izuku, is like just thinking over things, under a tree, playing his guitar. Not really singing anything. When Kyoka comes up to him and, goes into a rant about how it doesn't, how even if, the things that he's seeing is the future, she gets him to talk about what he's going through, even though he tries not to, because it's not like he's gonna, physically fight at her, which makes it a lot easier for Kyoka to do it. But he doesn't, and, she goes into a rant about how all these, even if what he's seeing is the future, they can change the future. Future isn't set in stone and we can change it however we want it. And, kind of stuff. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not good with emotions, so I wouldn't know what to say in this situation. So I'm not even gonna attempt to do so. But yeah. So, and they both find themselves cuddling under a tree for a few hours before they realize that it's nighttime and they should probably be heading back. Kyoka looks kind of sad, not gonna lie to you. Because she's snuggling close to, the left side of his chest. But trying to hear his heartbeat, but it's not there. It's just not there. So she does look kind of sad, but at the same time, she's happy because, she's with Izuku again. They do start dating now, for all those of you who've been waiting for that for 7 episodes. Those were my headphones. I don't know what that is about. They probably ran out of power or something. I'll charge them later. Once I finish this. So yeah. So they go through all of this. Rinko's kind of sad. If you probably don't know what her backstory is. And I was really hoping to get into that, but I don't know if I am. I'll if you guys want me to get into it, I'll get into it in the next part, but this is mainly Izuku and Kyoka. Anyway, they start doing, once Izuku starts to get close to the rest of the class again, they continuously ask him to sing songs for them, and he says, fine, I'll sing a song for you, but only if I do a duet, but only if it's a duet. And then pointing at Jiro, and then she's, ooh, this is a perfect time. Ooh, that's a nice one. Not the one I'm looking for. So, he's getting close to the rest of the class again. And ignore the words in that picture. But she looks at him in surprise as he's literally asking her to do a duet with him to appease the rest of the class. As if any of you know a really good love song duet, post it in the comments and we'll say that's the one, because I don't know any really good love song duets. At least not any that I like, so, whatever ones you like, so, whatever ones that you like, you get your own personal universe on what happens in this moment. But they do a few of those. And everyone is, just jamming out, Ooh, I know a really good one. It's not a love song, but it's a duet. Not Gonna Die Tonight by Skillet. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I love it so fucking much. Ugh, so good. Such a good band, man. And a really good song, too. But yeah. So that happens. And, then, a few months pass by, so time skip a few months, to Kyoka's next birthday. I don't know when that is, but we're time skipping to Kyoka's next birthday. So they're probably 17, I think, now? They're probably in their second year. Izuku has talked to Mei for a birthday present a few months ago. Well, this is also a reference to Jack and Her Green Muse. So if you haven't read it, you're not going to understand it. But it's literally just a weapon that he made, that the author of Jack and Her Green Muse made for Kyoka. Which it's basically these two, police batons that work like amps. And they can, change, the, range of the sound waves, if you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't taken a science class, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. Absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. I barely know what I'm talking about, because I didn't pay attention in science class. No, I paid attention in science class enough to, pass the class, but, not enough to memorize anything. Because I don't like science. I ain't gonna be a scientist, I don't need to know it. I need to know math. For various reasons. Not complex math, but, math, just your average math skills for everyday things. But, moving on. So he gets those made for her, and they can connect together to make, a bow staff kind of a thing. I haven't read Jack and Her Green Muse in a while. I'm probably gonna read it again after this, just because I have the itch to read it again now, because I'm talking about it so much and referencing it so much. Oh, I loved it so much. I love that freaking fan fiction, man. Oh gosh. But yeah. I loved it so much. Okay, I'm getting off topic. But he goes and he makes these for her, and that's her birthday present. He's also teaching her more hand-to-hand combat, because let's be honest, she's gonna need it, especially with more of a melee weapon. So he's teaching her mixed martial arts and how to wield a bow staff. Because he's literally epitome of knowledge. He's connected to everything that's connected to the internet because of his body. However, in turn for Mei creating this, she wants to be able to work on his cybernetic body. So he makes a deal with her. He says, if you make this for me, I'll let you replace my thighs. You know, the upper portion of the, like, I don't know what it's called. I think I'm just going to call them thighs because that's what most people are calling them. I don't know the actual muscles that are in there. But, you know, from his knee to his waist, minus the private parts, is what she's replacing. He says, like, just stay away from the private parts, and you can replace, like, the rest of my legs. As long as my father is supervising. And she's okay with that. So, by the time Kyoka's birthday comes around, his thighs have been replaced with machinery. And don't get me wrong, it was a painful process. Even though he was unconscious, it was a really painful process. What? Okay, no, I'm gonna be fine. It was still an extremely painful process, but he did it for her, you know? Just like he did the first time, he did it for her. Except this time it's not to stay alive. You know? So, and he gets a few, upgrades. He gets basically skates on his feet so that, you know, so that instead of actually having to run, he could just use the engine-like things that are, like, just fire the energy outside the back of his calves in order to move forward faster, which is basically, you know, what Ida's engines do, except they don't overheat because of the extremely advanced, you know, technology, the cooling systems that are in there, so that they never overheat. Or anything. So he could keep going for a while. Well, yeah, so that's how that is. And, next episode, I'm gonna end it here, and the next episode is probably gonna be the last, you know, the final part. It's gonna be like them having dated for a while, like me doing a flashback to, you know, Izuku finding out Rinko's backstory and how he reacts to that, and then, you know, him getting married to Kyoka, and then one big final battle to end the series. So next episode is probably going to be the end, unless the first few things drag on for too long. And yeah, so this has been Blazing What Ifs. Blazing away.